Welcome back to another episode of NFT 365. I'm your host, Fanzo, and we are sponsored by the Crypto Business Conference. Crypto Business Conference is happening October 9th to the 11th in San Diego, California. Check them out at socialmediaexaminer.com/NFT 365. Excited to have them on board, counting down for some nice, beautiful San Diego weather. And jumping in, we part of the kind of the complexity of the podcast is we try to share the projects that we're minting every day in our Mint 365 collection. But that's not always the case because some of the episodes we pre-record, some of them are interviews and such. But actually, this episode not only we're going to talk about the NFT that we minted for today, but it actually kind of bleeds into a little bit of the topic of today's podcast episode as well. So it's kind of a nice little double combo for you here today. And part of the beauty of this space and is I'm always looking for inspiration, always looking for creative approaches to I've said this in a lot of other episodes, a lot of mundane normal processes that we do in the NFT space. I love when people think differently in that arena. And so today's mint for Mint 365 is called Deskheads. I'm sorry. Let's see. Look at this. I'm already jumping off. So yeah, Deskheads with an S. So Deskheads. It's the website is Deskheads.xyz. And I love the project that has, we tweeted out and shared, the focus of the project is that they are, human-like gifts that they are attempting to lead the 9-to-5 revolution. But, the art's nice. The websites, I really like the way websites broke down. One of the things that jumped out at me is when you're actually minting it. So today it's the whitelist only mint. And I believe tomorrow it'll be the public sale. But when you're minting it, you have not only the option to mint the NFT at 0.06 is what I believe it is on the website, but you have the ability to mint and to stake the NFT right away. And actually in their OpenSea description, they actually say that they have 38% of their mint has already been staked into the contract, which I think is a really unique approach. It's the first one that I've seen that actually, when you're minting it originally, you have the option to stake it, right out of the jump. And for those that the thing about this, right, the staking component is the idea that you're kind of locking it in the contract. And in most cases, they give you, you get perks and benefits for locking things into the contract because it also minimizes the total supply available. Also makes it a little, a couple extra steps for you to put it up for sale, right? So if it's staked in the contract, they pretty much know that group of NFTs will not be posted for sale on the secondary market. So it kind of allowing them to kind of even better understand their initial kind of group. And so we minted them for today's project. They're number 238 in our Mint 365. But I wanted to kind of talk about, what does that all mean? Like, what does that mean as far as, how we look at, the future of utility, how we look at, innovation. And most of in some past episodes, I've talked a lot about, the fact that, innovation has not really been rewarded that nicely here in Web3. And I'm not really sure the exact reasons for innovative, like the best 3D art has not been the most rewarded 3D project, right? The most innovative use for staking, or the most innovative use of tokenomics, or even like the most innovative layers of NFTs, like, from like Psychedelics Anonymous having the different components. Those projects, because I think they add a layer of extra learning, there also isn't really a proof of concept yet, right? We don't know that style or that delivery is going to work. So I think for a lot of cases, people kind of like hedge their bets and like, oh my goodness, I'm not sure if this is going to work. And that is something to be aware of. But I will tell you the other part of what I looked at, with Deskheads, and this will just be, when I've been talking about, if I'm predicting kind of the future here of NFTs, one of the things that I've been harping on since this podcast started, right? So way back when on November 11th, one of the things that I harped on was I really like to look at things and say, what is actual utility that an NFT project is that can actually deliver on today? And then what is like projected utility? And what I always labeled as projected utility was the things that are like their wish list. Like they want to create a Netflix series, they want to launch a metaverse game, they want to add AR components. And for me, that was always something really important for evaluating the value of an NFT for minting it, right? Like I believe for some projects, when you look at the utility that is being presented, if it's not like directly valuable for 6 months, like I would argue, why would I mint the project now? Why won't I wait? Why wouldn't I wait just the 6 month mark and then check it out? Like, oh, if they're ready to deliver the utility, maybe I'll jump into the project then. And I think a lot of projects haven't thought that through very well, because you have to really, if your utility, if your main utility especially is not something that can actually be delivered for a certain amount of months out, like what are you going to do, A, to get people inspired to mint today? B, what are you going to get them to kind of bring them along on the journey and still, be a part of this community? And it's not just having a Discord, right? You have to actually, add some layers of, maybe it's communication, maybe it's, Zoom calls, maybe it's, Twitter Spaces, whatever it is, you have to bring them on that journey. But then you also have to think about it from that standpoint of, for a lot of people, this is what they'll say, or they'll think, is they'll actually think like, oh, I'll just buy that 6 months from now. But I don't know about anybody else. If I'm thinking about something I'm putting off 6 months from now, the chance of me remembering it 6 months from now is probably 0.1%. Like, and even if I put it onto my calendar, when that day comes, I'm like, why did I think this was valuable to mint 6 months from now? I won't even comprehend, let alone like, we don't know what the value of ETH will be and all of those type of things. But even more so than that, like, I've been very blessed as an early adopter. I've been an early adopter for 10 plus years on, I jailbroke one of the very first iPhone 3s. Like I jailbroke it so that I could test apps before Apple rolled out Test Flight for us to be able to beta test projects, right? I've been really on this early adoption curve and this early adoption cycle for a long time. And one of the things that has been a trend every single time is that in the earliest of early phases of early adoption, that the focus and the attention and the education is all about like, it's like you have to focus on like the actual, what you're an early adopter of, right? So like all of the first early Google Plus people talked about Google Plus. They wrote books about Google Plus. But let's face it, Google Plus wasn't designed to be talking about Google Plus. Like it was to create a video interactive social media landing page, which we can argue if they did that well or if Google dropped the ball like they normally do, right? Live video. When I first started on live video, like it was like a running joke that you would open up the Periscope app or Blab app or Meerkat app or even Justin TV app or even YouNow. And almost all of the front page was people talking about like best practices for live video. What is the best gear for live video? And it was no different with social audio with Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces. But the reason I say that is because we are still in that phase right now in the NFT space. If you think about it, a lot of the utility, not all of the projects, but a lot of the project's utilities, it revolves around either education of Web3 or Web3 gamification, or, we're going to help you, we're going to give you additional airdrops of NFTs, right? So it's like, you're going to buy an NFT to get NFTs, to talk about NFTs, to be in NFTs. It's like meta on meta on meta. But that is a normal aspect and in the cycle of early adoption that's on par with what I've seen for 10 plus years. But here's the magic part of this. As we come out of that like mass early adoption cycle and we start thinking about things like long tail, and we start bringing in enough new blood that people are at least educated, but they're looking for more, that's where this magic happens for the long run. And I will tell you, I believe a lot of NFT projects that right now many of us love and hold, if they do not understand the need to pivot their value proposition, to pivot their way that they communicate and deliver their current roadmap or utility, then they're going to fail. They're going to get kind of put back. Now, the opposite is the case for some projects that their utility is already next level, right? They're already focused on in real life events. They're focused on maybe, high performance training. Maybe they're focused on getting people together on a weekly, Zoom. They're talking about, merchandise that is being sent out. They're doing meetups in locations. They're doing accountability groups. They're doing, internal challenges. They have factions within the community. Like all of these things, this is like that advanced utility that we look at it as advanced today. But I will tell you, in the future, as we look towards the future, that will be the norm. Projects that are really dialing in their utility that is beyond just the Web3 components are where we are moving this towards. And part of that is that, one of the things that I think is like the true benefit or long tail of this is that it does come down to, why do I need to be involved and what does this all mean? Now, the caveat to this is also the fact that some projects, especially if it is art-based, does not have to have utility, right? Like utility is not something that is required. And let's just be very clear. You as an NFT founder get to determine what the expectations are and what is the utility that you're going to put out there. Like I would ask every NFT founder out there right now, if you have 5 things that you want to deliver as your utility, only tell people 2 of them. Keep 3 of them in your back pocket, because you don't have to put all of them out there. Because guess what? If you tell people there's 5, aspects of utility, and you deliver the first 2 better than anyone else, but you struggle with the next 3, guess what? Everybody complains about. I got on the project because I had these 5 pillars of utility and they didn't deliver. But if you deliver 2 of these things and you maximize them out and you're killing it, and you say, hey, we're going to try to roll out another layer of utility on top of this, what do people say? Man, this project's amazing. They delivered exactly what I wanted, and they're giving me more. So managing that expectations is essential, right? The other part of this is also understanding that if a project does not have utility, is it still something as far as community based that they want to execute, right? Because let's not get these 2 things confused. People will tell me, Brian, I'm just going to launch an art project, but I don't want to deal with Discord, so I'm not going to have utility. Well, hold on a second. Like like having a Discord or building a community, it does not also connect to the ultimate utility, right? Like you can have a NFT project that is not utility based that has a Discord. You can have a NFT project that has no Discord but is heavily utility based, right? These 2 things are not, one and the same. And you can definitely kind of think, kind of break that out, kind of further than that. The other part of this is that when we start to, we've said this a little bit, and I don't think people recognize how this all transformation comes across. I'm just going to put it out there. The concept of an NFT will begin to fade away in 2 to 3 years. The idea of using that language, right? We are going to talk about, oh, did you get your digital asset? I dropped that into your wallet? Did you get did you get what I sent into your wallet, right? The idea, the reason, like the whole non-fungible token, right? The NFT is it's very much like it's the programmable component of being in the early adoption space, right? Like we talked a lot about like the actual underlying fundamentals, but eventually those things go away, right? Like, and even if you look at, like cell phone coverage, right? When people are talking about cell phones, early days, they talked about cell phone towers and how many towers they had in your state or in your area. And then they realized you get to a point where you don't care about cell phone towers. Guess what you care about? I want to know how strong your signal is in the areas. I don't care if it takes 1 tower, 3 towers. I don't care what you have to do. And so if we think about that, when we look at sort of some of the technology components being faded away a little bit, part of the other aspects that have to shine is like, what is the things that show up in as far as utility, right? And I will also say projects have not done an amazing job of outlining utility attached to a roadmap and then kind of giving you updates on it. Now, I have to give a shout out to this Deskheads project that we minted today. I will tell you, on their website, they have like a on their roadmap and within their utility, they actually show like, hey, these are the things that we haven't done yet. These are the things that are in progress. And these are the things we've already completed that are ready for you to capture within your utility when you first buy this NFT. That to me is a beautiful example of what we have to integrate in our NFT projects, right? That open communication. Now, I would even say this is something we have to update in our Discords, right? Like when I go into a Discord and someone says, here's the roadmap. And it's so funny because I did this yesterday. I jumped into a project that I love, and I'm not here to FUD, but a project that I love. And I was like, I wonder how they outline their, like, because at the top of almost every Discord, people have like official links, and then they'll have like about the project, and then they'll have like roadmap or whatever that may be. And so I clicked on the roadmap of this project that I really like. And I was like, oh, sweet. Like, I know they executed on that. They execute on that. I'm like, oh, they haven't executed on the third one yet. And when I looked at the date, it said coming to you start of May 2022. Now I'm looking at that Discord on July 6th of 2022, and that component of their utility has not been executed on. Now, nowhere could I find in the notes or in that about did it say what the new date is, why they didn't deliver, what are the updates that are on that. And let's face it, like I know, because I've been very active in that project, that I'm so confident about that project delivering that it doesn't even bother me that they missed that date. But it does bother me if I'm telling you, my audience here, to go check out this project. You jump into the Discord and you're like, Fanzo says they deliver. Fanzo says they're trustworthy. And you go into that tab and you go, wait a second. Their third utility was supposed to be delivered in May. Not only did they not deliver it, they haven't even updated their content of their resources. And I probably have to, scroll back 971 announcement posts to find it in Discord, because Discord is not user friendly when it comes to finding, concrete information or even status updates in a way that allows me, like, hey, I want to know the update of the main components of this project. Like there's, unless you have like a utility announcements channel, like you're not gonna, it makes it really hard to find those things. And so the other part of this that I liked what the Deskheads have done, and I think we're gonna see this with more projects, is I've been harping this, it might be my longest, I have a lot of soapboxes here, as many of you know. I like to soapbox on a lot of different topics, but one of the ones that I've soapboxed on, maybe the longest, is that I believe projects are still neglecting to reward those that are the original minters of a project and that hold it over time. Now, in Deskheads and a couple other projects that I've seen, they're attempting to do that. So one of the things that I see some projects doing is they're actually coming out and telling you, if you do these things, or when we hit 50% minted, everyone that minted and have not listed their NFT yet, you're going to get a Groupon, you're going to get a Groupon, not Groupon. You're going to get a Grubhub code for a 10-minute or $10 off your Grubhub order. Or you're going to get this additional bonus on our website, or you're going to get even just like you're going to get this role in our Discord. Because one of the things that we have to think about now, especially, is that there is like this newfound it's like this newfound entitlement, I guess you could say it is, as NFT investors and NFT collectors, where now we are like, not only do we want you to show us your business plan, outline your roadmap, prove to us that you're trustworthy, but we also want you to say, like, value us for caring about you before everyone else cares. Like, it's very easy to say that you love Goblin Town if you jumped into Goblin Town when it was 5 ETH on its way to 8 ETH. But the people that minted that at a free mint, or that jumped in before it was 0.09 ETH, those are your ride or die. They were the ones that believed before everyone else. But guess what? They have not rewarded. We haven't found ways to reward that component. Now, part of it, I believe, can be the staking component, right? Like, so if you, not only if you mint, but if you mint and stake your NFT, which means you're not listing it for sale at all. If you mint and stake your NFT on the 90-day mark, I'm going to give you, maybe that's where we do things like, I'm going to give you 50% of the mint fee back in your wallet, right? So if you minted at 0.06, I'm going to give every person that was the original minter that left it in the contract for the first 3 months, I'm going to give you back 0.03 ETH back into your wallet. Well, now we're kind of inspiring there. Now, the caveat to this, and I was helping out some friends. You're going to hear a lot more about an upcoming project that I am super excited about. It's called Metaversity. And I'm not going to give you any more details on it because I want you to have to wait to hear it from the team. And there's some great friends of mine that now, they were originally listeners here of the podcast. We got to connect at VCon and then connect at NFT NYC. And I just love what they're building, and they are the future. They are Gen Z leaders. They're just really I'm excited to bring them to life. But one of the conversations that I've had with them, and this is me kind of putting it out there, right, is like we also have to be very direct and careful with the word choice that we use when we're talking about what people are doing with their money and their NFTs, right? Because let's remember and be very clear, this is an ownership conversation, right? So when I buy an NFT, I own it. Nobody tells me what to do. And I will tell you what, I do not like being told what to do. I know it's probably not a shock to anyone that knows me. I just don't like being, you tell me what to do, and I am going to buck at that. I am not only am I going to want to do the opposite, but I'm going to be like, wait a second, who do they think they are, right? And so the difference between saying, hey, I want everybody to stake your NFT, and I don't want anyone to list it below 5 ETH for the first 6 months. You're telling me what to do with my NFT. Like screw you. I'm not listening to you. But if it's differently worded and said, hey, we believe our NFT is worth 5 ETH easy as the utility gets delivered at the 3-month mark. And so for those that are willing to either list it above 5 ETH or to stake it for the first 3 months, we are going to reward you with these things, and we are going to celebrate those that believe in it the way that we believe in it. Well, guess what? I'm all on board on that. I'm like, I believe. Like, we are all believers, right? Like that's and that language is very, very important. And I will argue that you also need to start delivering that kind of language in multiple channels and multiple different delivery mediums, right? You should have a video on your website. You should have that language in the wording on your website. You should have that in the Discord. It should be something that is reiterated very often amongst the team on the fact that, like, we believe, and for those that believe with us, we are going to reward them because you are on this journey throughout this piece. And so I believe that's where we're going to see utility be creative. The other thing to remember is that the beauty of NFTs is that they are, once they are minted, it is transparent on the blockchain. We can tell you who minted it, at what time, right? We can tell you what they paid for it. We can tell you what the gas fee was then. We can tell you what the the ETH transaction or the Solana transaction, what the conversion of the crypto was at that exact moment. Here's the thing. We need to start building utility that actually leverages that metadata and that information that is on the blockchain. Right now, we don't. But right now, do you know what we leverage? Do you have it in your wallet? Like, literally, we are leveraging right now at the moment in smart contracts for the most part. We are just saying, hey, did you have it in your wallet? Now, some projects will say, hey, we're taking a snapshot to see who has it listed or who has how many in their wallet. So now we're taking a picture in time of the number or the current state of the NFT. But we're not factoring in some of those other things, right? Like, what if you were able to even go a step further and say, those that mint more than one, and those that sell the second one within the first 60 days, we're going to reward. Because remember, just because someone is selling it doesn't mean that isn't beneficial for your community. Secondary sales is a volume metric that is important for your collection. I can tell you there's some projects that have underestimated the importance of having some secondary sales. The other part of it is that you also remember there is a creator percentage that is given that you have baked into the contract. And so inspiring people to actually hold one and sell one, well, now that's also something that you could reward and incentivize within your utility. Or what I like to say, and this is one of the things that I've been really hopefully helping people see the light on, is like, I do believe that your greatest assets as an NFT founder are your current NFT owners. And the problem is, right now, we do not do a great job of empowering them to share, to amplify, or onboard new people. Like, what if you told people, hey, at the 3-month mark, if you are holding your original mint NFT, we are going to give you a second one, but you have to put it in a different address for us to send it to. And so you can gift it to any of your friends or family that you want to join into this community. And it's only for those that are on the board with us and that have staked their NFT for the first 3 months. Well, now we're starting to build in some of these components that not only is allowing us to grow, but if the people that are staking and believe in your project are the ideal people that you want to be there in consuming your utility, wouldn't you want them to be the word of mouth amplifiers to bring in more people like them? versus the idea of always feeling like we always have to market to a new group. We always have to be putting, things out there to the masses. And so that's where I kind of wrap my head around not only this, current utility and future utility. The last thing I want to say on kind of like the future utility conversation is that a lot of the utility components that will be the norm in the next 2 years, we have not even seen implemented at all yet. Like literally have not happened, because either we haven't been creative enough to think that far, or we haven't, the technology isn't there, right? Like, I mean, I understand, like, I mean, right now for the merchandise store that we're building for this project, I wanted to be very innovative, right? Like I want to gate it on multiple blockchains. I want to create unique experiences. It's not easy because a lot of the mechanics that are currently available for us aren't really fine tuned. And so then I'm having to go in and adjust different website, components and make sure that this thing is always going to be talking to me the same as something else. And I also say, Ethereum is the easier one of all of them. Like, good luck trying to do multi-gating on Solana with the current state of different marketplaces in Solana, some of them showing NFTs, some of them not showing NFTs, the Solana blockchain going up and down, let alone go to Wax or go to, crypto.com, or go to Polygon. Now, Polygon might be one that it'll be interesting how that continues to emerge. But with that being said, I think we have to really be willing to think bigger. And even, are we going to drive innovation for future utility based on our creativity, or are we going to wait for future innovation to drive our creativity? I know which of those two that I believe we should be doing on. And I'm such a big believer on, like, if we can think it and we can work on it from a creative thing and we believe it's valuable, we can find people to build the tech around that. But if we're going to sit back and say, hey, the tech isn't there for us to do these certain things, and we're just going to sit back, guess what? We're no different than Web 2, and we're no different than, it took, I think 5 iPhone, iOS versions for iOS to give us copy and paste. Like, I remember watching the presentation that Steve Jobs came out and said, guess what? You can now copy and paste on an iPhone. And I was like, we were literally celebrating something that was rudimentary in Windows 95. And if you're a Gen Z listener, you can just Google the history of Windows 95. I know that's like a whole different world from you. But so with all that being said, like, I think I'm excited to see where utility is going. I'm also understand why we're currently delivering the types of utility that we are. And what I don't want anyone to think about is like, oh my goodness, I don't need to have these components. No, these components that are currently working today as far as utility are still valuable. But we have to think long term. What happens when people aren't joining NFT projects just for the art, or just for future NFTs, or just for being part of an alpha group, or just because I want a private, room in the Discord, or just because I think the price is going to go up? As those things start to happen, we are going to have to be willing to adapt and innovate. And I will tell you, for every NFT founder out there, even if you've already had a project, or maybe you're still building out your first project, one of the things that you have to realize is your ability to adapt, pivot, and throw out the original plan and start over will be the difference between you succeeding or failing. If you are like, hey, this was our roadmap and this is the only thing we're going to stick to, and guess what? The market changes. Guess what? The trends change, and you're not willing to adapt. Goodbye. Your project will fall off the map. You have to be willing to be agile. You have to be willing to adapt. You have to be willing to hold your course when it makes sense, but also throw out your strategy when that also makes sense, because let's face it, that's what some of the great projects are doing. And if you want a great example of that, go look at the original VeeFriends announcement. Go look at the original tweets from Gary Vee on what VeeFriends was about and what utility was going to exist in there and how his conferences were going to be designed. Completely pivoted, completely adapted, and changed over less than a year, I guess a little over a year now, for that entire project. And that project has been able to deliver, and they've been able to adapt. So as always, thanks everybody for, tuning in. You can check out that Mint 365. If you want to check out, all of the projects that we mint every single day on our journey to, November 11th of this year, just go to nft365podcast.com/mint365. Or if you're on the Twitters like me, you can just look at hashtag Mint365, and we actually have a thread. I believe it's going to be one of the longest threads in Twitter history because every single day I'm updating with a new tweet to one giant thread that we started way back in November. So every single project that we've bought, you can just scroll right down a nice little Twitter feed. Just search that hashtag Mint365. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we are sponsored by Crypto Business Conference. Crypto Business Conference is a conference founded by Michael Stelzner. He is actually the host of the Crypto Business Podcast. He is also the founder of Social Media Marketing World, one of the largest social media marketing conferences in the world. And completely excited to be not only having them as a sponsor of the podcast, but also a media partner at that event. So you'll be able to see me on stage. You'll be able to see a lot of our team there from the podcast and some of our favorite projects, not only there, on stage, but, meetups and, connecting with a lot of, the great vendors and others that are going to be there. So it's October 9th through the 11th in San Diego. So definitely check that out. We have links in the show notes for everyone that's interested for that event, Crypto Business Conference. And last but not least, my friends, I'm going to throw out my 3 dams just because I think it's a damn good time to throw out my 3 dams. And the first one, of course, is do your own damn research, especially in these times. Do not be influenced and just jump at things because someone or someone on Twitter said something. Do your own damn research. You are responsible for your own decisions. And we are, for the most part, all of us are adults, and we need to act like that when we are taking on this journey. The second one, of course, is press the damn button, which means, that premise is, I believe everyone has a story to tell. I believe those that are willing to take action are those that are willing to actually make a difference and stand up. And it's very easy for us to talk about doing things. It's very easy for us to learn about doing things. But the ones that are changing the world, the ones that are making an impact, are those that are actually pressing the damn button and taking action. And then the third one is, and this one will be where we'll wrap it on, is raise your damn hand. And what I mean by that is we need to seize opportunities that are around us. If you're in a Twitter space and you have a question, raise your damn hand. Hit that little hand button. Guess what? Your video doesn't come on. Your voice is going to sound fine. You can get over it. And the more times you raise your hand, the easier it becomes. Because here's the thing. When you do it the first time, you're like, you know what? That wasn't that hard. And the problem is, for many people, they sit in those rooms, they have the questions, they don't raise their damn hand, and they just miss these opportunities. And here's the other part of that, is you're not raising your hand for yourself. You're raising it for that audience and those of us that need to hear those questions and need to hear your thoughts and your story. You're doing us a disservice by not raising your damn hand. As always, my friends, I will talk to you tomorrow. So until tomorrow, my friends, make it a great day. Cheers.